Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Martin Stopford, President of Clarkson Research. I'm here to talk to you perhaps more about shipping than offshore. It's inspiring to hear Peter talk about the way that TK has built that business. And over the years, you watched the enormous strategic effort they've put into the development of the business. And the business has really moved outside the area of straight bulk shipping and the business which was dominating the shipping industry in Norway 50 years ago when North Shipping started. The enormous capability of TK as a company has gone into other areas. And what I want to argue this morning is that the shipping industry has actually gone through a phase where it's used a business model that really didn't require a lot of detailed management. And that phase has come to an end. And that if we look forward over the next 50 years, we're going to be spending between $4 and $8 trillion on hardware. $4 to $8 trillion on new ships. Are we going to be spending an appropriate amount of money on how we use those assets? Or are we going to continue to follow a business model of the last 30 years where you build a slightly bigger ship with every generation, you have one person in the office for every ship at sea? That's not my model. That's what I was told by the guy I think was probably the most successful ship owner of the last 40 years. Is that the business model we're going to use for the next 40 years? Because if you are, I think it's worn out. I think it's dead. You know, it's a Norwegian parrot, if you know John Cleese. It's sitting there on its perch. Big ships, they're getting into diminishing returns of scale. You know, you extend the size of the ship, you still have the engine room, and then you put steel on the front. You still need more energy to push the cargo through the water because there's more cargo in the ship. And the management level is minimal. Now, I'm not for a minute saying that the shipping industry hasn't been massively successful in this. I mean, I'll give you a statistic that tells you just how successful this Norwegian parrot strategy was in its heyday. This week, it costs about $11 to move a ton of grain across the Atlantic to Rotterdam, right? In 1951, I looked up the statistic in Plateau Statistics, I'm happy to say, and it costs $11. I'm not talking about deflated, in the same money of the day. We've gone 60 years, and the price hasn't gone up. So all you guys in the oil business who are weeping over $60, just remember that oil used to cost $1 in 1951, and now you've got a problem because it's $60. In shipping, we've got the same rates in the dry bulk business today as you had 60 years ago. So what is wrong here? What should we be doing? This is a think tank, and if there's one audience in the world I would like to be putting this proposition to, it's here in Norway, because I think we all know that Norwegians like to get their teeth into a problem. They like to do things you can manage, and the problem with the bulk shipping industry in the last 20, 30 years is that it's been a gambling business. It hasn't been a management business. It's you buy the ship, you raise the money somehow, you talk someone into giving you the money, you know, go to some nice person like Mr. Evanson, and in his former incarnation, he'll give you a few $100 million. You put the ship on the water, and then you hope everything goes well. It's not a very honorable way to make a living, is it? It's gambling. And I'll be honest with you, I think the Greeks have done it better than the Scandinavians, you know. I mean, they understand that business very well. But there is another way. There is another way. There is a way to put the management back into shipping. It is to accept that the business model is worn out and look at the one area of revolutionary activity in the world today, which is information management. And that is actually something that is there, and it's got cheap, it's available, and it's borderless. Information is rapidly becoming truly global in a very real sense. And what this has done is allowed a ship, made it possible to treat the management of a shipping fleet in the same way that BMW treats the management of a car factory. And if you look at the process of building motor cars, it is astonishing. It's not just about robots. It's about the use of robotics where it's appropriate, information management and material control where it's appropriate, people where it's appropriate. You see the people come and go in the factory as the car goes through the BMW factory. And there are really three big problems that we've got with perhaps four big problems with the business model today. The first is, as I mentioned, the technology is long in the tooth. The cupboard's empty. We've taken economies of scale to the extreme. We have a big problem with crew. I mean, shipping is not the place anywhere once anybody in serious management wants to go, going to see those four guys that really run the ship. I was talking to a ship manager on Sunday, and he was saying, you know, we just get the bottom end of the market for going to sea because you have to wait so long to get responsibility. The changing world of shipping is today, 2/3 of the cargo is controlled by the non-OECD countries. A whole range of new customers, much more management intensive, many new ports to visit. 50 years ago, only 2/3 of the business was controlled by Europe, America, Japan, the OECD countries. So the business structure globally has changed, and we need to be able to manage that change. And the fourth problem is that we have got very weak customer relationships. In the 1950s, 1960s, the business was run by effectively the cargo owners. You know, Shell, BP, they gave owners the charters, they took the charters to the banks, they raised the money. Those big ships were really pump primed by the cargo owners. Then the cargo owners disappeared, left it because they weren't in the gambling for ships business. They left the whole business to the shipping industry. And so those are the problems we face. What is the solution? Well, it's a management solution. You semi-automate ship operations, you semi-automate navigation, you integrate door-to-door logistics. You know, to begin with, containerization was supposed to be about door-to-door, but that's quietly got forgotten in recent years. It's now really quayside to quayside. We've lost that door-to-door process. And I think we need to put these things together so that we squeeze more value out of the transport chain, and we put a smile on our customer's face. You know, the customer shouldn't be the guy you're beating to death across the negotiating table. The customer should be the person that looks and says, hey, have you got that new service? Have you got that new way to help us with your business? Are you leading the way forwards? And I think in a market-driven system of the sort we've got today, that is very difficult. The benefits, well, the first benefit, if you take all this technology, is quality systems will work in a way that paper quality systems won't work, because you're getting an information flow digitally across the business. You've got teams of people monitoring that. There'll be fewer accidents. You look at what's happened with the Google car. According to Morgan Stanley, 38% of the financial benefit of the Google car is fewer accidents because they're due to human error. The one thing everybody agrees with in shipping is that the incidents are due to human error. You don't put those in your P&L, but they are a real cost of the business. Planning suddenly improves, and with your big data that you collect from the digital monitoring, it means you can start to explore ways of saving money, and your personnel and career management is transformed because you don't need 20 years experience to run the engine room. A new graduate can be running the onboard systems within a few months, do a couple of years on the ship, move back to the office, maybe come back on deck later. Smart people don't really have to have that local knowledge because that's embedded in the ship systems. And finally, you're going to get cost savings. I'll be astonished if you can't squeeze 30% cost savings out of these things. Now, it's not easy to do a pitch for something like this in a few minutes, and so what I'm doing is telling you the conclusions from the things that I've looked at. But There are people on land doing this. UPS is running 48,000 vans with telemetric systems, knows everything about what those vans are doing. It goes into a big data system. They're using it for controlling the individual routes. They're using it for the management of the of improving their whole logistics operation. Boeing has an aircraft health management system that they're offering, same sort of thing. Other people are doing it, the technology is there, the possibility is there, it just needs the vision. And I hope that when we come back in 50 years' time, the shipping industry will look more like a BMW factory and less like a Morgan factory. Thank you very much.